Did you know that approximately 43% of our day-to-day choices are actually habits that we formed over time? Things like brushing our teeth and tying our shoes are actually habits that are being guided by a habit loop, whether we know it or not. As a GHC student that had just taken anatomy and physiology, I've become very interested in how the mind works. During my 8 weeks of study, looking into how these habits are created is very fascinating to me. So as we will explore today, we are going to look on how habits work inside the brain, how they are formed, and how we can change them to be more beneficial for us. NPR states that a routine is actually made of a 3-part habit loop: a cue, a routine, and a reward. A cue is an external trigger that is going to lead to our routine. Cues can be internal, like feelings, or external, like things going on in the environment. The routine is what is triggered by the cue. These can be either beneficial, like exercising, or not beneficial, like smoking. And then that will lead us to the reward. The reward is going to be tangible, like a treat or ice cream. Intangible is going to be a feeling of pride. And that is what's actually going to start our habits locking in, and that's how we are going to progress with our habit loop. Now we understand the pattern on how the habit is formed. Let's dive deeper into the brain and learn about how these habits are so powerful. NIH states that the basal ganglia is actually important for creating these habits, whether they be good or bad. And it is located, as you see here, in this cross section deep inside the brain, and it relies heavily on pattern recognition. And as we repeat these patterns, these habits are formed, making those signals stronger in the brain. Once we form these habits within the brain, it allows our brain to disengage and conserve more energy. Neuroscientists have said that the brain uses about 20% of our body's energy, even though it only makes up about 2% of our body's weight. So if you have to think and make decisions day to day, like brushing your teeth or tying your shoes, think about how exhausting that would be. So these habits actually free up the energy in your mind for you to make larger decisions. But the same efficiency that makes these easier is actually can make it harder in the long run, because it will be harder for them to break. NPR researchers say once the habit loop is formed, the brain can stop participating in these large decision-making processes. So unless you fight the habit, then the habit will continue to flow automatically. So now that we understand how they're formed and they're seated so deeply, how can we change them? Is it possible? Yes. And that all starts on how we look at ourselves. So identity-based thinking is actually stronger than goal-based. Identity is going to focus on the person that we want to become, the identity that we want to obtain, rather than focusing on one thing. Goal-based is going to be, I want to do 100 push-ups. Identity-based is going to be adopting that personality of, I am a fit person. Thinking about the identity, we're going to create those through small individual repetitions and small actions. NIH says that small repeated behaviors actually give you more effect. They're going to rewire the brain's pathways. So small decisions are small changes are big votes for the person that we want to become. And this won't work unless we replace the old habit with new routines. So the biggest thing is we don't want to break the habit. We want to change the behavior. We're going to keep the trigger, replace the behavior, and it will help us become the person that we want to be. So as we explored today, habits shape our lives whether we realize it or not. First thing we went over, habit loop, cue, routine, and reward. And these are going to help us make those habits. Basal ganglia is going to help us create those habits. And lasting change comes through shaping our identity, not just setting goals. Good news is, it doesn't have to happen overnight. Tiny changes equal big wins. So before we fall into bad habits, think about, is this the person that I want to be? Because whether we realize it or not, habits are shaping our day-to-day. They're shaping our destiny.